Now we're going to go from word form to standard form. So go ahead and watch me here on number 3. It says 206 and 5/100 of the sub. Before I write anything down for my answer, I'm going to, you probably guessed it, do some circling. And this word "and" right here, super important, another ding word. So and, I'm also going to circle my word that ends in "ththsa." In this case, it's 100th of a sa. What I'm going to do with that bit of information, I don't see any 1,000, million, or anything like that, but if they were there, I would circle them as well. I'm going to make my little spots for myself. So I'm going to draw my decimal point because I know that I have the word "and," which means a decimal. I'm going to look in front of my decimal. I see 206. I know I need a hundreds place. So over the hill. And I'm going to now look at my ththsa word that I circled to figure out how many spaces I need after the decimal point. And this is 100th of the sa. So remember, there is no 1th of the sa place. So the first one here we have is the 10th of the sa place, and then the 100th of the sa place. So my 100th of the sa place is going to be right here. Now we fill in the digits. So 206, 206, that should be a 0. Sorry about that. So 206 and 5/100th of the sa. Does my 5 go here or here? Well, it says 5/100th of the sa, so I've got to put my 5 in the 100th of the sa place, which means I've got a 0 right here. Now let's do number 4, where you're going to copy this one down along with me. Number 4 says 5 and 61,000th of the sa. Do you remember the first step? Good, we've got to circle "and," because that's our ding word for a decimal. We're also going to circle, very good, our decimal ththsa word, 1,000th of the sa in this case. So let's put our decimal point down. How many spaces do we need in front of that decimal? Well, all we have is 5, so that's just the ones place. 1,000th of the sa. How many spots do we need after our decimal point? Well, this is the 10th of the sa. This is the 100th of the sa. And this is the 1,000th of the sa. So we need 3 of them. And now we fill in the numbers where they go. So 5 goes in the ones place, 61,000th of the sa. So we've got to make it so that it says 61, but that 1 is in the 1,000th of the sa place. So our 1's going to go there, and our 6 has to go here. Because if our 6 was here, it'd be 601, but it says 61. So our 6 and our 1 have to be right next to each other. What goes in the 10th of the sa place? We took our 5, we took our "and," we took our 61,000th of the sa, we put a 0 right in there. So there you go, from word form to standard form. Let's erase so we have room for number 5 and 6. Number 5 and 6, we're going to be going from standard form to expanded form. So just watch me here on number 5. I see 8 1 decimal 974. So this is 81 and 974 thousandths of. Before I move on, I've got to circle that decimal point. You're going to see there's going to be a big change in how the expanded form looks when we go from in front of the decimal and cross over to after the decimal. It's going to start the exact same way as yesterday. 8 is in the tens place over the hill, plus parentheses 1 is in the ones place, plus parentheses, here's where it gets new. We still have a 9 is in, what place is that? Good, it's the 10th of the subplace. How do we write that? We're going to write 1/10 to show that it's the 10th of the subplace. Plus 7 is in, let's see, it goes 10ths, 100ths. So we write the 1 over 100 or 100th as the fraction. Plus 4 is in 10ths, 100ths, 1000ths. We write 1 over 1,000 or 1,000ths. Do you see the pattern? How things shift after that decimal point? We have times whole numbers here. After we get to that decimal, everything's times a fraction. So that's one way to check your work is, do I switch from whole numbers to fractions exactly where the decimal is in the number? Let's do number 6, and you're going to write this one down in your journal. Number 6, it says 203, decimal 567. First things first, let's circle that decimal point. And we're going to start just the same as yesterday. So parentheses 2 is in the hundreds place, plus parentheses. Remember, in expanded form, we don't need to expand out our zeros. So we come over to the 3 is in the ones place, plus, I see a decimal. That means things are going to shift up a little bit. 5 is in 10th of the sub place, so 1 over 10 or 1/10 of a, plus 6 is in 10th of the sub, 100th of the sub, so 1 over 100, plus, finally we have 7 is in 10th of the sub, 100th of the sub. That's the 1000th of the sub place. So again, 1 over 1000. And again, to check it, we make sure that that decimal's in the right spot where we shift from whole numbers to fractions. So we've got 200, 3, 5/10 of the sub, 6/10 of the sub, 7/10 or 1000th of the sub. So there we go with that one. Let me go ahead and erase it and move on to our last two problems where we're going to go from expanded form to standard form. So again, for number 7, you can watch what I'm doing. You're going to write down number 8. Number 7, it says parentheses 5 times 10 plus parentheses 3 times 1 plus parentheses 4 times 1/10 of the plus parentheses 2 times 1/100th of the plus parentheses 9 times 1/1000th of the. All right. So first things first, we're going to look at what those place value numbers are and see if we can figure out which one's the biggest. So we know how many spaces to draw for us to fill in, how many place values to draw. So I see a 10, I see a 1, I see 1/10 of the. Clue that we need a decimal. We see fractions, we need a decimal. 1/100th of the and 1,000th of the. So 10 is the biggest. I know we need a decimal. So let's draw our decimal. And for the tens place, we need 1, 2. And now I'm going to look for the smallest place value to see how many lines we need to draw after the decimal. And 1,000th of the is the smallest place value in here. So 1, 2, 3 for our 1,000th place. And now we put the numbers where they go, the digits where they go in that place value. We can label these if it helps us over the 10th of the 100th of the and 1,000th of the And 5 is in the tens place. 3 is in the ones place. 4 is in the tenths place. 2 is in the 100th of the place. And 9 is in the 1,000th of the place. So 53 and 429 thousandth of the Last one, you're going to join me in writing this one down in your journal. So this is number 8, and it says parentheses 7 times 1/100 plus parentheses 6 times 1 plus parentheses 1 times 1/1,000 plus parentheses 8 times 100. All right, so let's look at the numbers of those place values that represent those place values. And I see 1/100th of the clue that we've got a decimal point. 1, 1,000th of the and 100. So 100 is definitely our biggest place value. So let's put our decimal point. And hundreds, we need over the hill. Let's go ahead and label those right now too. Over the hill. Now we're going to look at our thethasas and see how many spaces we need to draw after the decimal to get all of our thethasas in. So this is 100th and 1,000th. So 1,000th requires 3 spaces. Because this is the 10th of the you can label them to help you. The 100th of the and the 1,000th of the So now we put the numbers where they belong. So the numbers, as you can see, are jumbled up out of order. I like to go in order so I don't miss one. So 7 is in the 100th of the that goes there. 6 is in the ones, that goes there. 7 is in the 1 is in the 1,000th of the that goes there. And 8 is in the hundreds, that goes there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest become zeros. So 806 and 71,000th of the